Welcome to the South Ops Fire Weather Webcast for Thursday, August 13th. I'm your host, Kristen Stewart. An anomalously deep trough remains over California this morning, leading to a significant deepening of the marine layer. Low clouds have spread deeply into the coastal valleys and into many of the lower coastal slopes. As is typical under deep troughing, these clouds will be sluggish to clear as the morning progresses. In addition, there remains plenty of mid and high level cloud cover overhead from a weak disturbance that the anomalous trough has brought into the region. So once again, expect most areas to remain partly to mostly cloudy through most of the day, alongside a continuation of cooling temperatures. The anomalously deep Pacific troughing that we have been talking about this week is finally overhead of us and is expected to remain in place through around Saturday. Even though the trough is expected to remain relatively weak in the grand scheme of things, it is still quite unusual for this time of year, and we will see some pretty big changes relative to what we've been used to for much of the summer. We will see dramatically cooler temperatures for the next several days, alongside widespread higher humidities. Unfortunately, this pattern change will not stick around long, as high pressure looks to rebuild over the desert southwest and expand back into California Sunday into at least early next week, bringing back some warming and drying. However, model projections continue to show that the Pacific trough will try to fight the redeveloping high pressure to prevent it from getting too strong, thus keeping the amount of warming and drying in check. Longer range forecast models continue to indicate plenty of uncertainty in the forecast for the second half of next week, with either high pressure remaining dominant or troughing coming back, so it is hard to say what the second half of August will bring for us. Now that the Pacific trough has asserted dominance over California, the large-scale flow pattern aloft has become more southwesterly across central and southern California. This flow pattern leads to an influx of cooler and drier air over California, so the monsoonal moisture that we've been seeing this week will start to scour out and exit to the east. As a result, shower and thunderstorm activity will be more limited to areas along and east of the Sierra Crest today, with a chance of more isolated activity over the mountains and deserts to the south. These storms are likely to produce enough rainfall to preclude any significant fire weather issues with any lightning strikes. There is a small chance of a few storms extending farther west towards the Sierra foothills or even the central coast at times, with the potential for these storms to be on the drier side. The risk for this to occur is quite low, but it is something to continue to watch out for as the day progresses. As the drier westerly flow aloft continues, similar activity is expected on Friday, though it may become a little more isolated in nature as the best moisture shifts into the Great Basin. Thunderstorm activity will likely taper off this weekend, though a couple isolated storms are possible along and east of the Sierra Crest. Widespread cooling is expected to continue today, with high temperatures returning to around 5 degrees below seasonal average. Highs will fall into the 80s in most valleys, except low 90s in the Central Valley, 70s closer to the coast and the lower mountains, and around 100 for the low desert. So it's safe to say it's going to feel way more comfortable than in recent weeks. Similar temperatures are expected to continue through around Saturday, then slow warming should return for Sunday through at least the first half of next week. Despite the warming, temperatures will largely remain near seasonal averages. In addition to the cooling, the troughing pattern will also keep humidity elevated across the region. Minimums will increase largely into the 20 to 40% range across the interior for the next several days, except locally lower across the deserts. A deep marine layer will be prominent during this period, keeping the coastal areas much more humid, alongside widespread and stubborn low cloud cover along the coastal plains and up the lower coastal slopes. Humidity will slowly decrease early next week as high pressure tries to build back in and the marine layer will become a bit more shallow. With respect to fire potential, we will once again have to keep a close eye on things today as thunderstorm activity potentially expands into the lower elevations of central California. If thunderstorms occur over these areas, they could pose an increased concern for new ignitions. However, the cool and humid weather continuing through the rest of the week will greatly limit growth potential. Otherwise, the potential for new significant fires is going to decrease quite a bit as we move through the end of this week and the beginning of next week, thanks to the cooler and more humid weather. Dead fuel moistures will be on the rise, fire danger indices will fall, and the lightning threat will diminish. This will bring us a much-needed break in the action and allow us to catch our breath for the time being. And that's all I have for today. Thanks for tuning in. Our next webcast will be on Friday, August 14th. Have a fantastic day.